Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone, and Vice President Cahill, Major Rivas, and Site Manager Fraley. It's really great to be here. And let me just start by saying that to be here for me is really a great and important experience because it is important for me to tell you that what you produce here, what you do here every day, is making NATO stronger and all of us safer and more secure. That has always been the case, but is even more so now with full-fledged war going on in Europe, a war of aggression launched by President Putin and Russia, and where weapons produced by Lockheed Martin, by you, has made a huge difference on the battlefield. I just saw how Javelins are produced, and that was important for me. But it is important that you fully realize how important those missiles were, especially at the beginning of the war, because when the invasion of Ukraine started in February 2022, most experts feared and believed that Russia would take control over Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, and the rest of Ukraine within days or weeks. That didn't happen. The Ukrainians were able to push back the Russian invaders, not least because they had Javelins. And they played a critical role in those opening weeks of the war. Weapons, HIMARS, and PAC-3 interceptors, Javelins, and other systems, weapons produced by you here and also at other sites in the Lockheed Martin company, continues to make a huge difference. And maybe you sometimes believe it's far from here, Pike County, to the forests in Ukraine, but it's a very close link. What you do here makes a difference there every day. So I'm here to thank you for that and to express the gratitude on behalf of NATO, on behalf of all allies, and also of the brave men and women in uniform in Ukraine. The name Lockheed Martin is synonymous with innovation and technical brilliance. For decades, you have helped American and NATO forces maintain their technological edge, vital for our freedom and our security. So I come here with a simple message on behalf of the 1 billion people across NATO allied countries in Europe and North America. Thank you for everything you do. We live in dangerous times. China is the most serious long-term challenge. It is modernizing its military without limits, trading unfairly, bullying its neighbors, not least Taiwan, and seeking to dominate the South China Sea. But China is not the only challenge. Russia is the most immediate one. It has invaded Ukraine, a free and sovereign nation, causing immense death and destruction. We need to remain decisive and strong in our support to Ukraine as it defends itself and our values. The Ukrainian people want the same as you, to care for their families, earn a decent living, and to live their lives in peace and freedom. So when Russian tanks rolled over the border, they did that, the people of Ukraine did what you would have done. They fought back with courage and determination, and with your weapons. Not least with the Javelin anti-tank missiles made right here in Pike County. From your hands to theirs. The United States leads the way in supporting Ukraine. But the United States is far from alone. Combined, European allies and Canada actually provide more in terms of military, financial, and humanitarian aid than the US. And measured as share of GDP of total production of each country, most allies provide more than the United States. Over many years, the United States has criticized NATO allies for not spending enough on defense, and rightly so. And I commend the US leadership on this important issue. But things have changed. All allies have increased defense spending, adding an additional $450 billion US. NATO allies have committed to spending at least 2% of their gross domestic product on defense, and many are already exceeding that target. With more money for defense, we are boosting our defense industry. NATO creates a vast market for defense production and sales. Over the last 2 years alone, NATO allies have agreed to buy $120 billion worth of weapons from US defense industry. And that includes also from you, including thousands of missiles to the United Kingdom, Finland and Lithuania, hundreds of tanks to Poland and Romania, and hundreds of F-35 aircraft across many allied nations. So from Arizona to Virginia, Florida to Washington State, and right here in Alabama, American jobs depend on American sales to defense markets across Europe and Canada. What you produce keeps people safe, and what allies buy helps keep American business strong. NATO unites 31 nations from Europe and North America. We stand together and we are committed to defending each other, to standing up for our values and our democracy, and keeping our economies resilient and strong. So once again, it's great to be in Alabama. It's great to be here in Pike County, in Troy, and to thank you for what you do, because you make a difference, and we are extremely grateful. So thank you for having me here today. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary General, it's a privilege to have you here today. Thank you for being here with us. We obviously have a group of employees here with us today. We'd like to offer just a couple minutes for you to answer some additional questions. So we have a couple of mic runners, and we'll just go one at a time and take a couple questions. Open to the floor. Yes.
Hello, Mr. Secretary General. Thank you for visiting Lockheed Martin today. My name is Sharon Lee. I'm a senior manager for production planning here in Troy. How do you assess the long-term support of Ukraine, of the NATO alliance?
I expect NATO allies, including the United States, to stand by Ukraine and to continue to support Ukraine, because it is in the interest of the United States and other allies to do so. Because if President Putin wins in Ukraine, it's not only a tragedy for the Ukrainians, it's also dangerous for us, because that will embolden him and other authoritarian leaders across the world, in China, in North Korea, in Iran, to use force. Because then the lesson learned from Ukraine will be that when they invade another country, when they violate international law, when they kill and behave the way they have behaved, or Putin behaves in Ukraine, then they get what they want. And that will have consequences also for other decisions and other leaders when they consider to use force to achieve their goals. Today it's Ukraine, tomorrow it could be Taiwan. So what happens in Ukraine is closely watched in Beijing, and therefore this goes far beyond Ukraine. The other thing we have to remember or to understand is that, for instance, in Iraq and Afghanistan, the US but also NATO allies, we invested trillions of dollars and sent in thousands of soldiers. In Afghanistan, we speak about some tens of billions. and no US and no NATO soldiers. Meaning that by using a fraction of our defense budgets, we have inflicted heavy losses on the Russian fighting capability without a single US soldier in harm's way. So there is no reason for us to stop, because the price we have to pay if President Putin wins is much higher than the price we pay today to help the Ukrainians fight for their freedom and help us to ensure that President Putin and other authoritarian leaders are not emboldened to use even more force. So therefore, I expect that the United States and other allies will continue to support Ukraine.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Secretary General. How do you see the importance of the U.S. military-industrial base in supporting NATO, the NATO mission?
The U.S. industrial base, defense industrial base, is extremely important. Lockheed Martin is one of, it's part of that, an important part. But of course, there are other companies which are also delivering critical systems, weapons, ammunition. And of course, they work together also with the European companies, and all together, NATO allies in Europe and North America, we constitute a very strong transatlantic industrial base. And one of the things that really inspires me is when I learned that Lockheed Martin is working together with European companies. They are investing in the US, but also investing in Europe. So we are actually working across the Atlantic and strengthening each other. The strength of NATO and the success of NATO, the most successful and strongest alliance in history, is that we have always maintained a technological edge. Our systems, our weapons are better than our adversaries. We need to continue to invest. We need the best and the brightest. We need skilled workforce. We need competence. We need research to maintain that technological edge. And again, I'm inspired by what I have learned here. I know that Lockheed Martin is really at the forefront of this technological edge. And that's everything from the advanced research, which is going on in laboratories, but also the quality of the workforce. I just went through the production line for the Javelins, and one thing is to see how the Javelins are produced, but in one way even more impressive is to see how it's tested and tested and tested, so there are no flaws or no misfirings or anything wrong with those missiles. So the quality of the workforce, the quality of the products is as important as the advanced research. We need that together. And again, you, the workers, the people, the staff of Lockheed Martin represents that quality and that technological edge, and that's the best of the industrial base we have.
We have time for one last question. Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Secretary General. We met earlier down at the Javelin building, but my name is Ben Smith. I'm one of the production supervisors on the program, and it's been an honor to have you here and introduce you to what we do and introduce you to my team. I'm curious, how long can NATO capitals continue to maintain their supply commitments?
First of all, it has been a great honor, and it's a great honor to be here and to meet with you and to learn more about Lockheed Martin and the different products you are producing and the importance you play in underpinning what NATO does, and that is to preserve peace and deter any military attack against any NATO ally. We have the capacity to sustain the support for years. And we should do it for as long as it takes. And the more we are able to send a message to President Putin that he cannot wait us out, the more likely it is that he at some stage will sit down and change his calculus and come to the conclusion that he will not be able to win on the battlefield and has to sit down and accept a solution for Ukraine where Ukraine prevails as a sovereign independent nation. So the paradox is that the more long-term commitment we convey, the faster this war can end. The more we waver, the more the risks are increasing. So therefore, we have the capacity, we have the industrial base. NATO allies are ramping up, investing more, increasing production. Again, Lockheed Martin is an example of that. So we have the means, we have the capabilities. It's about our will, and we should stand up and demonstrate we have the will to support Ukraine, because this is not only about them, it's also about us, and to ensure peace and protect our 1 billion people living in North America and Europe.
Well, once again, we are super appreciative of you being here with us today. I want to thank all of our employees for coming out for this program. At this time, we are going to dismiss, so thank you again for being here, and we'll transition a little bit to give our media an opportunity to visit with you just a little. So thank you all. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.